Okay, I'm very happy to have Dr. Susan Dougherty here to tell us about her work.
Okay. Thank you. Hello. Good afternoon. So I am going to be speaking to you about my work in family literacy and in particular a project called Dad's Read that I've been working on for a few years. I'm a new professor of literacy education in the GSE, and this is a little bit about my education and employment background. As you'll see, I just finished my doctorate at Boston University, and might be interesting to some of you to know that I actually did a master's degree here at RUTGERS that I finished in 1998. And at that time, I was also an elementary teacher in the Watchung School District, which isn't too far from here. So my research is within the area mostly of family literacy, which is the sort of segment of literacy research that looks at the interaction between family and school-based literacies and how those interact and support one another. And see, these are some of the major questions that family literacy researchers look at. In particular, how do family literacy practices support school-based literacy practices, and what are the effects of situations where schools sort of adopt and respect those practices, and what are the problems when schools don't. And then how do families and schools work together, and what kinds of programs really encourage positive outcomes for students. So my dissertation research really focused on sort of the first question, what goes on in families that supports literacy development in school and success. And so I looked at explanatory talk in mother-child conversations, and I looked across contexts. As you could probably guess, literacy researchers often focus on book reading and book reading exclusively, and I wanted to take a little bit more of a broader view. So I also looked at parents and children watching educational television together, playing with blocks together, and eating together, and what kinds of conversations they have and how those support literacy development. And I think all of my data is interesting. You know, most people do, I guess, when they finish a dissertation, or maybe not. But one of the things that's probably most interesting to people in my field is what happened when the parents and the children read expository texts together, so informational nonfiction texts. And I found a really high density of certain types of explanations, especially explanations that defined or described certain things, and also explanations that identified a wide range of items and ideas. So that's interesting, and these are just some examples. The book they read is called What is an Ocean? And it yielded a lot. These are only 2.5 to 3-year-old children with their mothers, but there was a lot of talk about scientific ideas and terms. Mothers talked about the meaning of the word shallow. They talked about divers and the fact that it's dark underwater and why a diver would need a light underwater. They talked about what caused waves, all kinds of conversations. And obviously these were brief, simple conversations, but interesting. And that's particularly interesting to people in my field because we're becoming more and more aware of our need to do a better job with students' ability to read informational text. And so there's some international assessment data that shows that American children or US children, students do quite well in comparison to other countries in reading narrative texts, stories, but not quite so well when it comes to reading informational text. And so that information has led to lots of people to call for increased exposure to expository texts in the elementary grades. And my research suggests that there might be some potential benefit also if we start even younger and we encourage parents to engage with their children around expository texts. There's lots of potential work to be done around this. I'm really interested in this idea of expository texts too because a lot of the conversation just came from the photographs, and that has implications for people who don't read very well or people who don't read English very well. There was a lot of great conversation just from the pictures. So there's some potential work to be done there. And then the other family literacy work that I've been doing is around a program called Dad's Read, which I developed in Boston in collaboration with the staff of an elementary school in Boston. It was, not quite anymore, the lowest performing elementary school in Boston in one of the lowest performing elementary schools in the state. And there were sort of two things that came together at once. Boston University became a partner with this school, and we were looking for ways to make a difference. And at the same time, the school itself had started what they called a dad's club, and they had fathers and uncles and grandfathers coming to the school once a month to listen to a speaker, to visit classrooms, to go to lunch and recess with children. And so that led us to create this program that we call Dads Read. It's an after-school evening, actually, book club for elementary grade. Right now we're doing grade K to 3 children and their male mentors. It can be grandpa, it can be your stepdad, it can be your uncle, an older brother. And the children come and they get books each time. They share the books with their dad. They interact around the books by reading other texts. Sometimes they generate lists of questions about, for instance, they read Frog and Toad, and they write a list of questions about real frogs or real toads, and then they read nonfiction texts to try to find the answers to those questions. The children get to take home the books each week, and they're encouraged to continue reading them. And we are in our 4th cycle now. It's our 2nd year. We do sort of 5 or 6 week cycles. And in the beginning, it was sort of discouraging, scary. We didn't have many participants. It was slow. But now, this past cycle that's going on right now, there are 16 dyads coming every week. They're very enthusiastic, and Dads Read has definitely become sort of a part of the school culture. Everyone talks about it, knows about it. Teachers are now kind of on board and encouraging parents to attend, and so it's sort of an exciting thing. Right now, most of the evidence that we have, or all the evidence that we have, that it's doing anything positive is all anecdotal. But I hope, can you see the quote sort of midway down? This quote is from one of the dads who participated last year, and I think it's a pretty powerful, statement about what happens when you invite fathers and other men to participate in school activities. And in particular, these urban dads. This is a big deal for them. And so we are just getting ready, doing all the IRB things, to start to really do a serious study of the impact of the program. So I'm interested in collaborating with other members of the Rutgers community around family literacy initiatives, around work in parent-child verbal interactions, and also in work that explores the potential of father figure involvement in schools. And we were invited to sort of add a little slide about ourselves toward the end. So I was feeling a lot more positive about this when I did this on Friday. But I'm a lifelong Boston Red Sox fan, lived half of my life in Massachusetts and half in New Jersey. And I suffered through many years of being a Red Sox fan in New Jersey. And so as if anybody's a baseball fan, you know that Red Sox fans root for the Red Sox and anyone who plays the Yankees. And so I just had to say, go Phillies. So thank you very much.